In this video I'm going to do a book review of Think Like a Super GM by Michael Adams and Hurtado. You can see here my forward chess library. So let me click on Think Like a Super GM. And before we go into specific position, I'd like to show you the table of contents. So that of course there's an introduction by Hurtado and Adams. And then we get into the puzzles. So positions and solutions for 40 positions, and then there are an additional 8 bonus puzzles. And the idea is as follows. There are people of different strength, and they all write about their evaluation and analysis of the position and give the best variation. So you can see for each puzzle what different players are thinking, and then in the end they draw conclusions from the puzzles, and then they go into an eye tracker experiment, just like a long time ago de Groot did in the 40s, in the 1940s, to see what a grandmaster is actually looking at compared to an amateur when he looks at a chess position. And they create heat maps. I want to concentrate on the puzzles and just explain how it is set up in this book, and then go to the conclusions and close out with a remark about a weakness in the book. So we have here one position. This is puzzle 13. And white is to move, and the question is, what would you play? So you can see in forward chess, I don't have the solution shown here. So if you want to look at the position, what would you play here in this puzzle? And you can see this is a level 7 puzzle. So it's the average difficulty of all the puzzles. And a lot of club players would look at this position and play the move bishop d5 to attack the pawn on f7 with the queen, and conclude that it's not defendable and that actually white is winning. And of course, in addition, white has a very strong outside pass pawn. So that's another consideration why white is winning. But when players are stronger, they would look at bishop d5, what is the strongest response of my opponent? And if you take some time, you could find that after bishop d5, black can play the move bishop takes h4 with the idea to give a perpetual check to the king, starting with queen g4. So it's very important whenever you do an analysis, of course, to look at the best move by your opponent. And that's one thing that sets grandmasters apart from club players. When you look much longer at this position, you of course have to think like, how do I prevent this perpetual check? But starting with queen g4, and then instead of playing bishop d5, you say, I have time, I have a long-term advantage, so let me play the move queen d7. So I will show now the solution, so you can see how this is being built up. So it gives an indication of the player, the elo, and then how much time is spent on before a player reaches a conclusion and the evaluation at the end. And one of the conclusions is that the accuracy of the evaluation is very strongly correlated with the strength of the player. So you can see at 1767, bishop d5 wins, elo 2017, Bishop d5 after 3 minutes 30. This is a win for white. And then at 24:51, the player actually looks at this move. Bishop takes h4, and as a way to a perpetual check, and then comes to the conclusion that you have to play queen d7. So it goes all the way up. You can see it starts relatively at a low level and goes all the way up to strong grandmaster level, and the analysis is concluded by Michael Adams. I thought this is a very interesting approach, and I'd like to go now to the conclusions of the book and show you a few. So the first one is about the art of falsifying. So why do top GMs keep on analyzing the move if they have already figured out it was the best move? What else are they thinking of? Here's the secret. They are actually looking at ways to refute their own move. For club players, myself included, once we find what we believe to be a good move, we tend to look only at those lines that positively reinforce our goals. So it's interesting that it's not just that you don't spend enough time on, let's say, other moves, but that you actually spend time in corroborating the move that you selected. And this is in line with a finding of Nassim Taleb in his best-selling book, The Black Swan, where he says chess grandmasters, it has been shown, actually do focus on where a speculative move might be weak. Rookies, so starting chess players by comparison, look for corroboration instead of falsifying moves. So I thought this was very interesting, and there is a direct correlation between a player's strengths and the amount of time and effort they put into falsifying their move. So I thought that's very interesting, especially that club players spend a lot of time corroborating their move instead of not doing a wide analysis. They actually spend time on corroborating their own move. And then the second part, of course, is about intuition versus analysis. At amateur level, decisions are primarily based on intuition, with only a little bit of calculation. And you can see at the highest level, 10% intuition and 90% is calculation. And I thought this is very interesting because there are some schools at the moment who says, well, just trust your intuition and as a club player. But I think it's a very difficult skill to acquire. But if you want to really become a stronger player, this book confirms that finding the strongest move and by analysis is the way to go. Yes, and so there are a lot of other conclusions, but here are the final conclusions. Knowledge helps the super GM quickly narrow down his search field so he can concentrate his efforts on the most relevant lines. Superior calculation of those moves enables the super GM to analyze the outcome of each of those lines and confirm the correct choice. The main secret these puzzles have revealed to me, this is Hurtado, is that once you have acquired a certain level of knowledge, approximately strong club level, calculation is a bigger factor than knowledge in your final move choice. So calculation is very crucial. So let me now go to my criticism of the book and what I think is a pity, because I think it's a goldmine and the whole concept is terrific, and that's also why I still fully recommend the book. Let's go to the first position. So this is the first position, and you can see this is level 7. And I tried to do this for myself, and I had great difficulty with it. So this is the average puzzle in the book, and I calculated and spent an hour, and had a hard time reaching a conclusion. I thought it was just difficult. So then I was looking at, after my analysis, and was looking at actually the evaluation. So Michael Adams gives this minus 1.1. And it's interesting, right? He gives a number of assessments like black is better or white is in trouble. So this is quite qualitative. And then there is a scoring system attached in the end, right? Which says best move is rook d8, second best is rook e5, and it's 10, 7, 7, 5. And then it goes down to for a correct evaluation, you have to be, you can see, between minus 0.1 and minus 0.6. And I looked at this position with an engine, so with Stockfish 17, and you can see at depth 80, right? This position is complete equality, and so this gives. So I started to look at how did they come up with their point system and their evaluation and actually the best line, and unfortunately they used. And this was in 2021. The book was published in 2022. The foreword was written in 2021, but they used primarily Stockfish in a browser setting at depth 19, and then they validated later at depth 45 on a personal computer. But you can see, if you look at this position, that Stockfish 17 says it's just a dead draw. And so there are two things. The scoring system is incorrect, and you could say, and then the positions are really difficult. And I think it's a missed opportunity that when they published the book in 2022, and when they wrote the foreword in 2021, that they did not use Stockfish 14, but they relied on Stockfish 10 in a browser, because in 2020 there was the major breakthrough in Stockfish with the neural network incorporation, the NNUE technology, which made Stockfish about 130 points stronger in one release. And if they had used Stockfish 14, and if the editor or Hurtado would have done a final check before publishing this book, they would have found that many of the evaluations are incorrect. Of course, I did this only for this puzzle, and it's a small sample, but I think it says something about the process they used, and I think it's a missed opportunity that they didn't do a double check. Overall, as I mentioned, I love this book. I think the puzzles are difficult. So this was the average difficulty in the book, and you can see personally as a candidate master, FIDE candidate master and a national master in the US, I had difficulty solving this. And you can see that actually Michael Adams was saying like black is better, while actually if you look to the engine analysis at the current time, it evaluates it as a dead draw, and there are multiple paths towards it, and there isn't evaluation that black is better. So overall, still a strong recommendation, and you understand what I think that they missed in this book. Thank you for watching.